I'm Chris Thompson, and today on the Business Behind the News Week in Review, we're discussing how stagflation has hit the U.S. markets. Nvidia's market cap is now worth more than $5 trillion. Taylor Swift fights back against AI. Meme stocks are back, and day traders are loving them again. The Real Brokerage is acquiring Remax. Spirit Airlines might go into bankruptcy again. Democrats are proposing a $25 an hour federal minimum wage, and a ticket to this summer's FIFA World Cup costs how much? Let's get into it. First up, welcome to Stagflation USA. The U.S. economy is entering a period of stagflation, and I don't want to sugarcoat it. It's going to get worse before it gets better. But what is stagflation, and how is it going to affect you? It's a term that many people have heard, but very few people understand. So let's get into it. Right off the top, let's define what stagflation is, so you're not wondering, what the heck is this guy talking about? Economists love to coin new terms. In this case, they took the term stagnation, which means not growing, and combined it with inflation, which means increase of prices for goods or services, and came up with a new term, stagflation. Economists must think they're pretty smart. Stagflation happens when the growth of the economy slows down or stops altogether, while at the same time, prices for everything else continue to rise. You can see the evidence of this economic shift every time you pull up to the gas pump or check out at the grocery store. Does that sound familiar? Were you just talking to your partner or friends about this just the other day? Well, you're not alone. It feels like the U.S. economy is entering a new period of stagflation, but economists would argue that we're not technically experiencing stagflation yet, at least not according to the textbook definition of the term. Try telling that to your average American shopper and see what they say. Welcome to Stagflation USA. Take, for example, the price of gas. The U.S. national price for a gallon of regular gasoline at the pump is $4.18, which is a significant jump for most families from the $2.98 that Americans were paying before the war in Iran caused prices to jump. In some states like California, drivers are paying as much as $5.97 per gallon for regular at the pump. And we're seeing diesel prices skyrocket to $7.26, up from $4.70 they were paying on February 27, 2026, just one day before the war in Iran started. If you've walked through your local grocery store and thought to yourself, wow, everything seems so much more expensive, then you're not alone, and you're not imagining it. Prices have gone up on everything. The average price for romaine lettuce reached $3.61 per pound. This price reflects an increase of 38.6% from February 2024 to February 2026, driven by high demand and supply constraints. The price of tomatoes has spiked 23% over the past year, with 15.3% of that jump coming in March 2026 alone, to reach an average of $2.26 per pound in the U.S. This surge in the price of tomatoes is driven by an economic perfect storm of high transportation costs, rising energy prices, and tariffs on imports from Mexico. These high prices are creating a situation where businesses are not expanding, people are starting to lose their jobs, and the cost of living keeps going up. Let's get our economic geek on for a minute. Stagflation refers to a period where the gross domestic product of a country fails to grow at a healthy rate for a long period of time. Right now in the U.S., we're seeing the growth rate of our economy slow to just 0.5%, which is an incredibly low figure for the world's biggest superpower. When growth is this low, businesses don't have the money they need to hire new workers or give raises to their current employees. This leads to a weak job market, where finding a new position becomes much harder for anyone unemployed or underemployed in all 50 states across the country. Inflation is the purchasing power your money has when it's dropping every day. Even when the economy isn't growing as much as it was, the cost of surviving is getting more expensive by the day for the average American. Households are struggling to afford the increased prices of gas and groceries that we just talked about. So why is the United States beginning to experience stagflation? You can thank the recent trade policies and tariffs that the Trump administration has implemented for the stagflation we're all beginning to feel. This is probably a good time for a public service announcement to remind everyone that this YouTube channel isn't about politics. It's about business and economics. I'd like to lay out the facts for you in as plain English as possible, with a healthy dose of sarcasm, of course, and let you draw your own conclusions. Tariffs are taxes that you, as Americans, pay on goods that you buy from other countries. Here's how that works. You're a farmer and you want to buy a new John Deere tractor. You go to a dealer and you place an order. That dealership buys the tractor, which is manufactured in China. The business is going to pay a 40% tariff on that price of buying that tractor from China, and they're going to pass that tariff down to you, the farmer. As of April 2026, if you imported a tractor from China, you would likely face a total tariff rate of between 35 to 40% or higher thanks to the tariff concept known as stacked fees. First off, most agricultural tractors have a free base duty of 0% under the Harmonized Tariff Schedule, or HTS. Next, you're going to need to add in Section 301 tariff, which is a 25% tariff rate placed on all Chinese machinery. Then you have to add in Section 122, reciprocal tariff rate of 15% that the Trump administration implemented after the Supreme Court ruled in February 2026 that the broad tariffs the administration had implemented were illegal. So if you're a farmer in the Midwest who needs to buy a tractor to grow their crops, which are shipped to grocery stores across the United States, you're going to pay a 40% tariff on that new tractor. And that's part of the reason why lettuce costs so much more at the grocery store right now. See how economics works? You're paying more for vegetables because a farmer had to buy a new tractor that got hit with a 40% tariff bill on their purchase. Therefore, they had to raise their prices, which trickled down through the economy until it landed on your receipt when you checked out of the grocery store. Your paycheck didn't go up, but now you're paying more for groceries while you continue to earn the same salary. But at least you still have a job, because for a lot of businesses, they aren't hiring right now, because they're stuck paying for tariffs, as everything's getting more expensive and as the economy's growth has slowed. That's stagflation for you. Now let's have a business story for a second. Nvidia just made history, becoming the first company to have a market cap of over $5 trillion. Led by co-founder and CEO Jensen Huang, Nvidia has been soaring the last few years as a chip maker and has been at the center of the AI boom. It's only been about 9 months since Nvidia saw their market valuation hit $4 trillion mark on July 9, 2025. And it's been 2 years and 10 months since Nvidia first became a $1 trillion company on May 30, 2023. It's insane how quickly their valuation has gone up. This rapid increase in Nvidia's market cap shows how Jensen Huang has positioned Nvidia to dominate the AI industry. Now, everyday investors on Main Street and Wall Street professionals follow Nvidia's every up and down as if it was made for a TV reality show. My only question is, when do you think Nvidia's market cap will reach $6 trillion? I'm guessing by the end of 2026. Let me know what you think. Now for an entertainment story. Taylor Swift is taking a legal stand to protect her name and voice from the rise of artificial intelligence. She wants to ensure that her identity remains her own as technology becomes more advanced and deepfakes abound. Taylor Swift filed a trademark application to ensure that no one can use her likeness or voice without her permission. This move comes as Taylor Swift continues to dominate the music industry, with her latest Eras tour generating over $2 billion in ticket sales. Taylor Swift's music catalog brings in around $200 million a year in annual income from on-demand streaming and publishing royalties combined. Some estimates suggest that Taylor Swift's music catalog could be worth $900 million, and that her net worth is north of $1.6 billion. Taylor Swift isn't the only celebrity who's actively trying to safeguard their likeness in the era of AI. Matthew McConaughey filed the United States Patent and Trademark Office to trademark his catchphrases, which include the famous all right, from the 1993 coming-of-age movie Dazed and Confused. And Scarlett Johansson took legal action against Covert Software, which used an AI-generated version of her image and voice in a commercial. Her lawyer issued a cease and desist letter to the company, and the commercial was taken down. I feel for these celebrities, but if anyone wants to use my likeness and voice to make a commercial, let me know, and I'll shoot you a quote. Next up, we're going to story about trading. Meme stocks are back in the news thanks to a new rule change by the SEC. Now, retail investors, poor schmucks like you and me, are pouring cash into the market trying to chase these massive gains that the stock market has been making nearly every week. On April 14, 2026, the SEC approved a proposed amendment to Rule 4210 that eliminated the $25,000 minimum equity requirement on brokerage accounts in order to change the patent day trading designation rule. Now, anyone who wants to use margin to buy stocks, options, or futures only needs to maintain a balance in their account of $2,000 in order to be able to use margin to purchase securities. This is a big change from when I began day trading back in 1998, and I'm glad the SEC is updating the rules to reflect modern markets. Some of the meme stock day traders have been piling into, including the OG of meme stocks, GameStop, and new arrivals like meme stock mania like Avis Budget Car Group, which trades under the stock ticker CARS, and has been a favorite lately. And now Allbirds, after they said they'd stop selling sneakers and we'd become an AI company. You're kidding me, make these things up. Next up, we've got a real estate story. The real estate industry woke up to news that the Real Brokerage is acquiring Remax in a deal worth $880 million. The deal represents an industry shift in how homes are bought and sold by the tech firm The Real Brokerage, as they leverage their platform to take over the famous legacy brand Remax. The newly merged company will be called the Real Remax Group, and will support more than 180,000 agents across 120 countries. But mergers don't come cheap. Both Morgan Stanley and Apollo are providing $550 million in financing to help manage the new company's debt and fund the cash portion of the purchase. Now for the sexy part, ready? The combined company will bring in as much as $2.3 billion in annual revenue, with profit projections of $157 million a year. And that's before they even begin consolidating teams and cutting headcount. Oh, I can just hear those cost savings ran up right now. Now let's talk about airlines, because everybody loves a good airline story. Stop me if you've heard this one before, but Spirit Airlines is in trouble. Again. The word on Wall Street is that Spirit Airlines is close to filing for bankruptcy, again, for the second time in less than a year. And get this, the Trump administration is in talks with the beleaguered airline about the federal government potentially investing $500 million, which would give the government a roughly 90% stake in the airline. That doesn't sound like such a good deal for Spirit Airlines until you go back to where I told you that they're on the verge of filing for bankruptcy for their second time in less than a year. And this time, they may not just be bankruptcy. They might go into liquidation. So yeah, if you're Spirit Airlines giving the government 90% of your company, if it means that you can keep operating, yeah, that's starting to sound like a better deal. So why is Spirit Airlines having such a bad time these last few years? Well, rising fuel costs from the war in Iran is hurting every airline these days, and a failed potential merger with JetBlue back in March of 2024 hasn't helped them. Then there's the increased competition from low-cost rival Frontier Airlines, which is aggressively targeting Spirit Airlines' key markets. Not to mention that your major carriers like Delta, United, and American Airlines are all introducing more base economy fares with price-sensitive travelers like me buying their tickets. With all those headwinds, maybe liquidation isn't the worst idea for Spirit Airlines. Now let's talk about minimum wage, something we don't talk about enough. Democratic lawmakers just introduced a bill to raise the federal minimum wage to $25 an hour, up from the current $7.25 an hour. Democratic Representative Delia Ramirez and Rashida Tlaib are leading the effort to help ensure that families have enough money for basic needs. This is great news for workers, potentially bankruptcy-causing news for small businesses who are already struggling to absorb tariffs and supply chain constraints from the war in Iran. What you need to know, which I didn't know until I wrote this and filmed it, is that there's a federal minimum wage, which is currently $7.25 an hour. And then there's a state minimum wage, which is $16 an hour here in upstate New York where I live. But each state has their own minimum wage. So how does a business know which minimum wage they're supposed to pay their employees? The federal law states that a business must pay the highest rate among federal, state, and local laws. As of January 1st, 2026, there are 30 states, plus Washington, D.C., who have adopted a state minimum wage that's higher than the federal minimum wage of $7.25. Politics aside, I'm not going to lie. There's no way anyone can support themselves on a federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour. So I'm all for whichever political party wants to increase the federal minimum wage. I think we should have a national conversation, including voices from the business communities that are going to pay their workers the minimum wage, in order to discuss the pros and cons of raising the federal minimum wage. You know, a healthy debate, like we used to have here in the United States. Now for a sports story. People are losing their minds about the cost of a single ticket to the FIFA World Cup final game, with some people calling it the most expensive ticket in the history of professional sports. Just this week, someone listed 4 tickets to the World Cup final match, which will be played at MetLife Stadium on July 19th for $2.3 million each. The tickets are right behind the goal on the lower deck, so yeah, they're pretty good seats. But wow, that's expensive. These seats were put up for sale on the FIFA Marketplace, which is the official platform for people to resell tickets, by someone who probably bought the original tickets for closer to around $10,000 each for these kind of high-end seats. According to the FIFA Marketplace, people are free to put up tickets for resale at whatever price they want, although this certainly works in FIFA's favor, since FIFA takes a 15% cut of all sales. FIFA is projected to bring in around $11 billion in revenue from the 2026 FIFA World Cup. This makes this year's World Cup the most lucrative soccer tournament ever in history. The tournament will feature an expanded 48-team format, with a record-breaking $871 million in prize money pool for participants, including $50 million for the winning team and $9 million for the last-place team. Approximately 6.5 million fans are expected to attend all 104 matches of the 2026 FIFA World Cup, which is being held in cities across Canada, Mexico, and the United States, with the final match being held at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. I'm a huge soccer fan, but I think I'll save my $2.3 million and just watch the final match on YouTube TV. Thanks for watching the Business Behind the News Week in Review. If you haven't already, smash that like button and do me a solid and subscribe to my channel so you can be notified next time I drop a hot take. Thanks.